The samurais were the military nobility in medieval Japan during the Shogun era. They were highly trained and elite soldiers that were trained to use both bow and sword. The samurai tradition lasted from the 12th century to their abolition in 1876. Samurai truly flourished during the Kamakura shogunate, which ruled from 1185 to 1333. A shogun was a highly ranked samurai that ruled under the administration of the emperor. The shogunate began when Minamoto no Yoritomo and his clan defeated a neighbouring group, the Taira, in the Genpei War. Minamoto's victory saw him as the most powerful military leader in Japan, making himself the first shogun military dictator. He held this position from 1192 to 1199. During this period, the samurai ruled Japan, but were tasked with large responsibility from the emperor. They were managed through a feudal system where military service and loyalty was given in return for an emperor's recognition of a shogun. They were expected to defend the emperor's territories against enemies and engage in battle with hostile tribes. The emperor lived in the ancient capital of Kyoto and was unable to maintain control of Japan's distant provinces. This is why the shoguns were appointed to settle military disputes in distant regions. One of the samurai's most vicious competitors were the Mongols, who attacked in 1274. This was led by Kublai Khan of the Yuan dynasty, who was initially quite successful against the samurai. However, the Yuan dynasty was stopped following a rough storm that destroyed many of their ships. Continuous war with the Mongols saw the fall and decline of the Kamakura and the uprising of the Ashingaha shogunate. During the 16th century, European traders introduced firearms into Japan, such as the arquebus. This had a huge impact on the samurai, with wealthy landowners purchasing hundreds to bolster their forces. However, there was a strong disliking of firearms in Japan, with many arguing that they were dishonourable in battle. Many samurai came from the Kanto plain and were very prestigious. They had special privileges, including the ability to wield two swords. Samurais were trained by armoured wrestling, teaching them how to grapple their enemies. They learned how to seize and dismount opponents that were on horseback too. At samurai school, they learned how to tie up prisoners, with different samurai schools teaching different knots. For the samurai, death was the way, for not that one gets killed, but that the samurai kills others. Samurai education also involved Zen Buddhism, believing that it strengthened their minds on the battlefield. This is because Zen philosophy emphasizes mastering crafts and techniques by uniting the body and the mind through action. Individuals could not become samurai unless they traveled around the countryside begging. The purpose of this was to teach the new samurai humility. The most common samurai weapon was the katana, a long steel sword, and a wakizashi, a steel 12-inch dagger. The wakizashi was used for suicide in situations where the samurai chose to avoid the dishonour of losing and falling into the hands of the enemy. Samurai were involved in archery too, believing that it requires the samurai to become detached from his weapon and focused on his target. They even rode with the bow on horseback, applying the same principles to their enemies. While the samurai numbered less than 10% of Japan's population, their teachings can be still found today in both everyday life and in modern Japanese martial arts. From the 17th century, samurai were no longer relevant for military purposes, with many becoming important moral teachers and advisors within the community. The shogunate ended in 1867 when Tokugawa Yoshinobu relinquished the office to the Emperor Meiji as part of the Meiji Restoration. The Meiji Restoration saw the dissolution of Japan's feudal system and the restoration of the traditional imperial government.